Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to an impromptu video. I hope you're all doing well and everybody is getting through the week nicely and all in one piece. I am. Thank you very much for asking. I just thought I would bring a quick video, really, because it was just so blatantly obvious to me and jumped right out at me, and it fell right in line with something that has been discussed between myself and a few friends and such like in recent weeks, and that is the more obvious, overt, in your face usage of symbols, particularly those of a Masonic kind, Masonic slash even satanic, if you like. Yeah, and tonight was no different, of course, because this evening is the opening ceremony of the FIFA Football World Cup that's being hosted by USA, Mexico, and Canada. These are the sorts of events that are often used to either plant seeds into the minds of people for things coming up, so-called predictive programming, or to air and bring to the open, as it were, something that is going to be carried out at a later date or whatever, to give people the opportunity to not comply, right? It's all very sneaky, this Mason's malarkey. But anyway, I'll give you an example. The Olympic opening ceremony in London in 2012, at the time of it happening, we all enjoyed the show and it was fantastic. And we thought, oh, all these references to nursery rhymes and children's stories and this, that, and the other. Well, actually, looking back, it's been broken down by many researchers. It is quite literally an event that laid bare what was to come. It predicted, if you like, in the form of a show, the events of 2020. And you see this in many other opening ceremonies too, whether it was the Barcelona Olympics or whatever. There are references to things that then do happen a few years later. It's quite interesting because it makes you wonder who then writes the choreography and who then explains or decides what colors are used, what symbols are used on the stage set, etc., etc., etc. Right? These are all questions that I often ask. It's like, well, how deep does this go? Where does the decision for a certain photo shoot to be done in a certain way, who makes that? Is the photographer in on it? Is you just told this is how you want your subject to pose and that's it? What goes on there? You know what I mean? I find it quite fascinating and intriguing. It really is quite the web. But this sort of thing that you're seeing on the screen right now, you see this all the time, and that is very obvious symbolism, right? The triangle is a very important symbol to the Masons and Eastern Star members. When a new Eastern Star chapter is established, the officers-elect are to form an equilateral triangle around the altar. That would be 60 degrees times 3, right? The altar itself is shaped in the form of a triangle. Traditionally, one angle is directed so that it points toward the east. The pentagram itself is made up of triangles. Of course, like the pentagram, the triangle can be used in 2 different positions, and each position has a special significance. A triangle with one point down represents the deity and is called the deity's triangle or the water triangle. With one point up, it is called the earthly triangle, pyramid triangle, or the fire triangle. And this emblem symbolizes the perfect or divine man. And as you can see here, the triangle is depicted with the all-seeing, one-eyed symbolism looking through it. This sort of symbolism you find in all sorts of corners of life, whether it's MI5, MI6, go and look at their logos, or whether it's on the back of a dollar bill, or whatever. You see these sort of images everywhere you go. Yeah, so like I mentioned there, the equilateral triangle is made up of 3 corners, each at 60 degrees, right? It all has its rhyme and reason. That's why numerology plays such an important part. Also, that's why I go on about numerology a lot. And rather than people ask me, well, what do you mean? I'd wish people would go and do a little bit of research themselves and have a little look. And I don't mean Google it, because that's part of the mainstream setup, is it not? So, people have to get a bit resourceful. But I thought I would just bring that to you because I thought that was very interesting. I'm not going to go on about the uber emphasis on the colours blue and yellow, which I've noticed recently as well. Um, you know, I think there's a war going on with a flag that involves the colours blue and yellow at the moment as well. Yeah, and it's also the colours of the Rothschild Institute, along with many other things. But anyway, yeah, I thought it was just interesting. It's just an interesting little curiosity. I'm sure there are lots of other bits of symbolism on that picture that I haven't noted yet. The chain round her neck, I suppose, I'm sure, has got some sort of significance. As will the pink and etc. etc. I don't profess to be an absolute expert in this field, but I do know certain signs and symbols, and I'm well researched in that field, definitely. Um, and yeah, it's a topic well worth having a look at and researching. And then once you come across certain things, you can't stop seeing it then. And then it puts a different, how can I put it? You see things slightly differently, more for what they are, as opposed to what they're sold to us as being, if that even made sense. Anyway, before I blab on too much, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for looking in, and I will see you all soon. Some of you much, much sooner. Until then, take it all easy, and ta-ta for now.